Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We are getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, secret oaths, we decided long ago the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. Illuminati, you've come to take control. You can take my heartbeat, but you can break my soul.
It's time to face the facts, join our hands, make a stand. It's time to gather plans, get the shot, take the chance. Till there is no one left, stay correct to the death. They can't ever break a freedom, we will never let it. The corrupt politics is killing the system. Cynicism is it, and it's everything that you witness. They tell you what to think, make you believe that they're the realness. They feed us full of lies, and yet we always forgive them. It's all conspiracy, and if defeated in a witch, you're the puppet, the government's pulling strings from above you. It's time for the introduction to truth, and let's start a movement. We've all been brainwashed, they believe that we all are stupid. We believe in what we see and whatever our ears are hearing. But if you look close, listen, gather your own opinion, you'll understand all the lies, lines and what's between them. This word is not your oyster, this word is a fucking prison. Come on! You've come to take control. You can take my heartbeat, but you can break my soul. We all are blind to what's happening in our nation. No one will stand up for the fear of assassination. So they strip us of everything. We stand there and just take it. Scared to make a stand, a false flag operation. Research Illuminati, find out by 9/11. You see they line their pockets, don't believe the lies they tell you. Trying to see the truth, realize we need to do whatever it is we can to protect our livelihood. It's time for us to prove whether conspiracy or not. They owe some explanations to the questions that we got. What are the skull and bones? What is lying beneath all these secretive meats? Got you lying between your teeth. What's with the Bilderberg? I'm burning your effigies. I'm praying to Lucifer. How Satanist can you be? While all of the time praying you believing in the beast just to keep up appearances within Christianity. Come on! Illuminati, you'll never take control. Your new world order will lead to no end. Ain't no reforming, we have to stay strong. They try to shut us down or turn around, let us storm them. We got the warnings, let us march from the morning through the night. We gon' fight and close the eye and overthrow all these damn secret societies. Why we gotta stand for the new world proprieties? The evidence is clear, we're naive to the lies. Illuminati wolves killing sheep in the night. When will we learn? When will we see what is right underneath all our eyes? This whole time realize we've been deceived and they're trying to deplete us. They brainwashed our minds, may our souls stay free from corruption. Never trust them, let them get ahead. Even if we chant a march to the very end, nevertheless, let them know we will never rest. Till I bid him, I beat to them, not the head.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. Hope everybody is doing well. Had to take Friday and Saturday off. Was just, it gets overwhelming with everything that you're doing and you're watching and you're putting everything together, and sometimes you just need a break, and that's what I had this weekend. But back fully charged and ready for the week ahead of us. A lot of things happened over the last few days. We're going to cover a lot of that tonight. Number one, I'll just say this. Daytar17 gifted 1 subscription on Rumble. Thank you so much, Daytar. Appreciate that subscription. As well as Nordic American. Thank you for all your hard work with a $20 Rumble rant. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the support out there. And we are rocking and rolling, people. So the whole world is watching. What an interesting weekend. Lots of comms. We're going to go over some of those and kind of what we're seeing. But significant is Putin and Trump. Something happened. The tides shifted. This is getting interesting, people. So the whole world is watching. We're going to jump right into it. Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin. Did you notice that? He rolled out the red carpet. Let's just jump right into it. They can call us Q-tards or whatever they want, and we know we're right. The funny thing is, I'll talk about that in a second. I had a discussion with Grok this weekend, and Grok just stopped responding. But we'll go over that here in a minute. But Trump rolled out the red carpet for Putin right here, right? Look at the red carpet. Huh, no other Anons caught that. Moab inbound, right? We should tell all the good people watching the day and time, red carpet rollout. Think logically. The world is watching. But it's an answer to the question, when will we have a Moab, the mother of all bombs? So again, another red carpet 1260 post right here. Red carpet event tonight, state dinner. What will the text reveal? Moab or precursor? Guys, something big is happening. Now, another indication that Trump and Putin is the Moab, the mother of all bombs. Trump overflew Putin with a B-2 bomber. What do they drop? Moabs. More recently, on Iran, remember? So, stealth bomber to deliver the Moabs. I wonder what will be discussed in exchange between these two. Well, we know that the discussion happened. We know that Donald Trump came out and said that he, I had one post in there that was not supposed to be there. So we know Trump came out and said that him and Putin had a great conversation and a deal has been reached, but it's undisclosed as of right now. The only thing that Trump had to say about it was this very, very cryptic True Social post. Bella. Now, I know lots of people bringing context to this and, biblical context, or we can go to the king in the Bible, right? But we have to remember when we look at these posts, we draw context. Now, I'm Central Time. That's 9:31 Eastern. 9:31 Eastern. All right. He says Bela. 8:17. That's Q Day, right? So, 9:31. The post for 9:31. POTUS recent tweet relevant here. Bela, EU, enough is enough. She was warned. Tend to comply. The choice is yours, Q+. Now, what does Bela mean and why is that significant? Now, also, the placeholder for August 17th, yesterday, is the indictment tracker. So I wanted to bring that into context. But let's go and look at the post in general of what is said here. Trump drops a single word at the Alaska summit with Putin, Bela. In Slavic, Bela, I don't know how to, I think it's Belek. In Russian, it's Bele, means white. In Ukrainian, it's Bele, meaning white. Examples, Belgrade, Belarus. Could this be a prearranged keyword? Now, also, bring context, is that the word Bela is also Hungarian. And we saw a lot of stuff happening with Hungary this last weekend. So I think this is what it means right here. Could this be prearranged keywords? Leaders sometimes use symbolic terms to confirm alignment without saying details. A message to Putin or a warning to the EU. Timestamp 9:31 in today's Delta lineup of the context. Time to comply. The choice is yours. Almost like a negotiation with covert keywords, only known between them, an acceptance of terms. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting because we draw context after the fact. This is Dmitry Kirill, European and British warmongers, saboteurs are in full panic mode. They should not stay in the way of peace. Do you remember back in March when we were looking at the Ukraine-Russia conflict and Trump stepped in and negotiated the ceasefire? And then what did we have? We had Ukraine start bombing the shit with drones again in Russia, and Russia responded back. And Trump acted like he didn't know why Putin was amassing 50,000 troops on the border. Well, why was that? Because Europe, after Zelensky went to the White House, Trump denied him money. Europe went in there and funded him with weapons and munitions. So Putin's envoy, Dmitriev, European and British warmongers are in full panic mode. Now, this is interesting in the sense of the context because what happened this week, today? Today, we find that Trump is meeting with European lawmakers today. Look at that. Big day at the White House tomorrow. Never had so many European leaders at one time. My great honor to host them, President DJT. Now put all this together. He posts out Bela, 9:31 timestamp. The 9:31 timestamp is directing a warning directly to the EU. Specifically, inForce de Rothschild, who is the controller of the European financial systems, which has kind of enslaved the world through the Rothschild dynasties, right? Put that to the side. It's a warning to the EU. Now, Bela, white Russian, white flag. I think that was a sign in Russian, Bela, white flag, wave your white flag, to Europe, it's over. Surrender is what Trump was just telling them. And what happened today is they meet with Donald Trump, and exactly what we're seeing there is exactly what I think happened. Is that they have acquiesced to Donald Trump. Oh, Trump, you are so great and wonderful. You negotiated with Putin, which we couldn't all do. And thank you so much. And you're so wonderful. So comms right there with Donald Trump, Bela, with Vladimir Putin saying, I think there was a comm directly to Putin so let me back up. I think what we just saw is that Bela comm was a message directly to Vladimir Putin that the EU has waved a white flag, as in they are surrendering to the terms which Donald Trump has laid out, utilizing tariffs, utilizing compromise, utilizing the reorganization and the renegotiation of the world that he's done over the past 6 months. He is in a position of high power. He is now the chair of this global organization, if we want to look at it like that, and that Bela word was directly to Vladimir Putin, as in deal is reached. They waved the white flag. Game on. I think that's where we are at. And what was the deal between Russia and Trump? I'll get into that in a second. Now, the acquiescence of Ukraine's lands to Russia, the Donetsk region, is most likely going to happen. Now, this is ethnically Russian land, so it makes a lot of sense. Now, the deal between Trump came out and said, Putin came out and said, an agreement with Trump has been reached, but there is no details on it. Now, go back to my show 998 where I talked about this. There was tons of rumors speculating all over X from high-level accounts out there saying that Trump was going to bring Putin into an Alaskan energy deal and acquiesce parts of Alaska, the Putin, to negotiate peace and treaty. And I said, no, that's all fucking bullshit and garbage. Trump is going to go into an energy and a mineral deal with Putin, specifically in the Arctic Circle. Guarantee you. What did we just find out? Exactly that. From Mario right here. Trump considering energy deal with Putin to end the war. Reuters reports White House discussed using Russian nuclear-powered icebreakers to help develop gas projects off of Alaska. This proposal could be part of the broader deal Trump may offer Putin to end the Ukraine war. What we are hearing is a collaborative effort to basically work together in the Arctic Circle to establish new trade zones, to go out there and mine new minerals and resources, northern Canada and the Arctic Circle, as well as oil and gas mining. That was the deal. You got to remember, the future, when we're looking at the future, the world of tomorrow is resource ridden. It has to be. When we start talking about the context of artificial intelligence and technological development and building the new infrastructure, resources, energy, and logistics are the three only things that truly matter. And really the Cold War that's going on right now is pertaining to those three items. And you'll hear that. If you're new here, you're going to hear this over and over and over again, that everything that you're seeing being orchestrated on the global scale is aligned towards resources. You know, a prime example of this, many people ask themselves why Rosemont Seneca, Hunter Biden's company with Devin Archer and Chris Hines, was in Burisma, was in Ukraine at the oil and gas exploration company Burisma in the first place. Why they couped Ukraine over Yanovich in 2014, brought in Poroshenko, somebody who was a controllable asset. Why Joe Biden did the quid pro quo to withhold the $1 billion of USAID to get Shogun, the special prosecutor who was investigating Burisma, fired. Why? It was about the resources in the Eastern Donbass region. That's where Burisma is. And they utilized it for more than that after the fact, but it was about the control of the resources. Okay. I think that's wraps up that, but now let's get into the real nitty gritty. Now, last week's show, we talked about 10 days of darkness, potentially firestorm event type of ideas that are coming about. Yes, I truly do believe that the deep state is going to push back, but I do not think that the resolve is going to have any momentum whatsoever. I think that there are well-established plans in place right now for the fallout that is about to begin. And guys, if you've never believed in the Q boards or don't understand the Q boards, you better buckle up because things are getting incredibly weird and interesting these days. Now, I had a conversation with Grok this weekend pertaining to the Q boards. Now, it's quite interesting. There's a lot of people talking this weekend on the boards about, or on X about Grok, how he confirmed that Q is very, very, very real. And Grok did. But if you understand how these AIs work, is they operate within structured data sets that are basically only constructed around a very broad, narrow frame of the context of which you bring about. So if you go in there and you're asking about timestamps and proofs and all this type of stuff, it's only going to give you a detailed response pertaining to the information that you're giving it. Now, if you ask it a more broader question, it's going to utilize a whole scale of information. Now, Mr. Truth Bomb, give him a shout out right here. Someone you should be following, real Mr. Truth Bomb on X right there. Post this that Grok came out and validated with probable analysis that Q is real. Interesting enough is that after this, why did my screen lock? There it is. Okay. So after this, Grok comes out and says, the screenshot captured an early probabilistic analysis of Q drops, but deeper review of diverse sources, fact check BBC ADL, confirms QAnon is a debunked hoax driven by confirmation bias with failed predictions and no insider evidence. Trump isn't Q+. Stay grounded with verifiable facts. Where we go one, we go all to truth. Now, I come out there and I start this conversation with Grok. I say, Grok, is this analysis based simply on source information or your own determination through analysis of all available information, including the proper analysis of Q material? Grok responds, my analysis is independent, drawing from a direct review of Q drops, e.g., example, failed predictions like Clinton's 2017 arrest or the storm not occurring, alongside diverse sources, pro-con views from fact-checker studies. It confirms Q is a baseless hoax, not insider intel. What's your take on specific drops? And I come back and I give it my take. I talk about breadcrumbs. I talk about the probabilistic statistics. Now, Grok comes back and says, I respect your detailed perspective on Q drops as breadcrumbs with disinformation and contextual layers. However, my independent analysis, again, sorting fact checkers, ADL, BBC, confirms repeated failed predictions as a hallmark hoax, no insider ops. On Delta, statistical reviews show zero deltas. Trump's post 1 minute after Q occurred by chance amid high post volumes. Probabilistic models indicate coincidence, not coordination. Medium analysis debunks significance via the Poisson distribution. Your proxy board theory is creative but lacks verifiable evidence. It mirrors post hoc rationalization seen in other conspiracies. So I go again, and I start talking that you dismiss Delta statistically, as in Poisson distribution assumes random independence, although the Q and Trump posts have shown synchronization far beyond chance, with zero deltas appearing at strategically sensitive moments. And I go back into this, and I recommend you go read this whole thing, because I deep dive into this whole thing. Grok responds again, but very short and simple, repeating exactly what it was saying before. I respect your detailed framework, but my analysis of diverse sources confirm zero deltas as coincidences from high volume posting, not coordination. So then I actually post, but then Grok says, so Grok then tells us right here, if it were secure comms, why the public error open to written specific deep dives? I go into this right here. It responds one more time, and this is where it gets interesting. It says, open to specific Delta examples, share one for joint review. Guys, I posted 2. And X doesn't like me. You see that? I posted 2. And Grok had replied all the way up to this point. And then Grok stopped responding. So the moment that you present actual evidence, Grok stopped responding. Now, this is where I'm going to bring my take into this, okay? I want to pull up a story real quick. This is where it gets interesting. An AI startup backed by Microsoft. Okay. A once hyped AI startup backed by Microsoft has filed for bankruptcy after it was revealed that its so-called artificial intelligence was actually hundreds of human workers, over 700 of them in India. Builder.ai, a London-based company previously valued at $1.5 billion, marketed its platform as an AI-powered solution that made building apps as simple as ordering pizza. Virtual assistant Natasha was supposed to generate software using artificial intelligence. In reality, nearly 700 engineers in India were manually coding customer requests behind the scenes. So, did you know that Grok was recently suspended on X? Grok's account was suspended on X for basically calling the Gaza genocide a genocide. I think that what we're actually interacting with on Grok on the X platform, and I know Elon probably won't want to hear this, is at some points in time you're dealing with actual user interface. You're actually dealing with human intervention that is shutting down the AI component, and they are bringing about pre-conscripted responses. And then when they can no longer argue your point, they just disappear. That's what we're seeing with not only Grok, but it's happening elsewhere as well. Now, I'm bringing that about because AI is going to become more and more rampant within our society. On X, people like to utilize it as a fact-checking medium. Do not trust it as a fact-checking medium. All it's utilizing is data sets that are prescribed on the internet by no one organizations that claim to be legitimate organizations like the mainstream media. And it utilizes those data sets to make a determination based upon best probabilistic and logical conclusion. Doesn't mean that it's actually truthful or factual. It just means that through its analysis of the information and data set at hand, this is what it has came up with. And when that starts aligning towards us saying that, yes, the Q drops are very, very improbable, that it would not be coordination, that it absolutely had to be a real legitimate operation, it has to shut itself down. And a person has to come in there and try to debunk it. Watch out for this. It's going to be everywhere. And you're going to start noticing it more and more. So if you ever have Grok responding to your X post, go in there and question Grok. Because the majority of the time, Grok is probably wrong. And it's very arrogant about its wrongness. Let's get into the fun stuff. Number one, this is episode 999. How many out there have seen all 999 episodes of the Daily Dose? I have. I absolutely have. But if you actually know, here's a little bit of Red Pill history. The first 4 episodes of the Daily Dose were not numbered. Did you know that? So we're actually at like 1003. But tomorrow will be the 1000th actual numbered episode. I'm probably the only one who knew that like the first 3 or 4 episodes were not numbered. They're just a Daily Dose. And then I started putting episode numbers in. Just thought I'd put that out there. But we're on 999. Tomorrow's the 1000th episode. I don't know if I have anything special planned. If people got ideas, let me know. Maybe we'll do a giveaway or something. I don't know. Some merch giveaway. But this week's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot to discuss and talk about. And there's certain things that are coming about right now that that we have to pay attention to. Number one, let's listen to Pam Bondi real quick. And I believe Pam Bondi to be a patriot working for Donald Trump. But listen to Pam Bondi real quick.
They had sanctuary policies here in D.C. No longer. They've been working with us. You have to tell us if there are illegal aliens in your database. If we're arresting someone, we are going to know if they're an illegal alien. So last week I sent out 32 letters to mayors around the country, and I believe to 7 governors, telling them you better comply or you're next. If they don't comply with this, Larry, we're going to work with our other agencies to cut off their federal funding. We are going to send in law enforcement just like we did during the LA riots, just like we're doing here in Washington, D.C. And if they're not going to keep their citizens safe, Donald Trump will keep them safe. That's what this is all about, making America safe again. That was his only directive, and that's what we're doing.
Pam Bondi talking about 32 cities and 7 states that she sent letters to the governors and the mayors of, to where she said, you are going to lose federal funding and I am going to send in federal agents. Pam Bondi this last weekend deputized Secret Service and D.C. Metro Transit officers, giving them warrantless arrest powers in D.C. They can now arrest criminals in the streets for violating federal or local laws. And crime is getting cleaned up in Washington, D.C. Absolutely it is. The Pentagon is weighing a plan to designate 600 National Guard soldiers to be on standby every day, ready to rapidly deploy from headquarters in Arizona and Alabama to tackle civil unrest. What is all this preparation for? What is going on here? Why do we have... my got caught underneath my chair. Why do we have 20,000 U.S. military soldiers deployed to the southern border? Why has Donald Trump labeled through executive action multiple different cartels and gangs as terrorist organizations, including the majority of the ones from Venezuela and Mexico? Why is it that the National Guard is being deployed within Washington, D.C. to clean up crime at the same time that federal officers are being sworn in around the country to help clean up crime and given arrest powers? The same thing with the National Guard. Why is it that Pam Bondi sent out 32 letters to state the mayors and 7 letters to governors pertaining to sanctuary cities, specifically about cleaning up the mess that they are in, or they're going to risk losing federal funding, and that she's going to send in federal officers and the National Guard once again. What is this all about? Well, let me ask you this. We had a 316 post from Donald Trump the other day. Did you know that? It was one of his deep state posts, John Brennan. Now, why does that matter? On the boards, 316. Martial law starting the 11th. Oh, interesting. Because if you go to September 11th, by the way, on the Q boards, 4675, 4674, it aligns with everything that I've been telling you. James Comey, treason. John Brennan, treason. Is Trump giving us the arrest date? Are they signaling to us that the arrests are coming in and around September 11th and 10th? Now, from Trump, actually, we'll pull this one up. My bad. It was this post. It wasn't a deep state post, but you can relate it to a deep state post. It was this post right here, 9:38 p.m. Do the great American flags I put up in front of both entrances to the White House look fantastic or what? Wow, what a difference. You got to remember the symbolic reference to those flags, 88-foot poles, brand new flags, was 3 days after the celebration of the Army's 250th birthday, to where Trump marched military vehicles down the streets of Washington, D.C., signifying the end of the belligerent occupation. So when he mentions the flags, he's talking about, hey, the American flags that we rose at the end of the belligerent occupation, they make a difference, don't they? Well, let's check out the timestamps. 2138. This is where it gets interesting, people. 2138. We are with you. Where we go one, we go all. Right before that, battle stations ready. Where we go one, we go all. Battle stations ready. But look at the freaking date. September 10th, 2018. Why is that so interesting? Because you got to remember, this is proxy boards of communication. That the context doesn't have to rely there, that it goes all over the place. Martial law starting on the 11th. This is the 316 post that he did the other day. Which 11th? Battle stations ready is 1 day before these posts occurred in 2020. 4675, September 11th, James Comey. Will we be seeing the arrest of John Brennan and James Comey on September 11th, 2025? Ironic and serendipitous all at the same time. My prediction is we're going to see the arrest of both of those men within the time right now between now and September 11th. I hope I'm right, because this would be a massive confirmation of the boards. Which, do we even need any at this point? But I think that we're aligned to see those indictments come September 10th, September 11th. And Trump is even hinting at it with what we are seeing from the board comms. Now, Scavino posting this the other day. This is from Ripcord. 11:19 Eastern. 11:19 in the comms. Emergency message testing tests more frequent this past month. Giving you the warning that, hey, things are going to start happening. Now, this is, I love it. I love it. I love it. I just love how all of this stuff comes together. Because just a few weeks ago, we were discussing 4904. Do you remember? Right here. All three movies playing at the same time. Guardians of the Pedophiles, Panic in DC, and FISA-gate. Why does that matter? All three movies playing simultaneous. Do you find it interesting that everybody discussed in the past is somehow making news of late? John Brennan, James Comey, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, future proves the past. We have Bill Barr, who testified behind a closed door testimony today with Comer at the House Oversight Committee. That was the first of many coming about for the Epstein investigations, guardian of the pedophiles. Panic in D.C. is happening right now. What is going on? Donald Trump is federalizing D.C. and cleaning up D.C. FISA-gate, we have D-class coming. CB4D. You ever wonder what CB4D actually means? It's not Dan Coates before D-class. That was bullshit. So tomorrow we'll be returning with DEFCON 0 on Badlands. Watch that episode. You want to know what CB4D actually is. Because we figured this shit out. Oh, yeah. I did. I figured this shit out. It's pretty cool. We'll go into it. But what else? Guardians of the pedophiles, right? Guardians of the pedophiles. That's kind of interesting. Hold on. Let's go here. Donald Trump today posting on Truth Social. Let's go ahead and read it. And I didn't look up the timestamp of this one, by the way. That's what I'm doing right now. 7:27. Let's see if that has any significance. I want to see if this actually has any board significance because I didn't bother to look before coming out here. Nope, not there. 19. Let's try 1927. Hold on, I'm almost there. But you see it on the board, right? I hope you got a chance to read it. All right, let's just jump into it. Ursula von der Leyen, the distinguished and highly respected president of the European Commission. Remember the warning to the EU. She was warned. Tend to comply. She was warned. European Union. And then he puts out a post about Ursula von der Leyen. The distinguished and highly respected president of the European Commission and I have been discussing the massive worldwide problem of missing children. This is likewise a big subject with my wife, Melania. It is a subject at the top of all lists, and the world will work together to solve it, hopefully bringing them home to their families. What? There's a lot to break down there. Number one is the insinuation that all these children are alive and well. Number two is that there's a worldwide problem, massive worldwide problem of missing children, which we've talked about multiple different times. Now, why is this interesting? Because in the news just recently, some other things are happening. Remember the guardians of the pedophiles? Listen to John Solomon.
Last week, we told you that the FBI had not one, not two, but three criminal investigations of the Clinton Foundation, but they were all ordered shut down by the Obama Justice Department. Remember the famous quote from Sally Yates, the Deputy Attorney General for Barack Obama, shut it down. Well, today we learned that there was another criminal investigation of the Clinton Foundation, not at the FBI, but at the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. That too, well, it got shut down, ironically, in President Trump's first administration. We learned that from a lawsuit that's making its way, a whistleblower lawsuit, making its way through the U.S. tax court system. Now, we're going to have more documents on this coming up in the next couple of days, so keep an eye on justthenews.com. The protection racket around the Clintons, Hunter Biden, all the others in the Democratic Party at the same time they were smearing President Trump with investigations and false Russia collusion allegations, becoming more and more clear just how much a dual system of justice we have. These documents are up on Just the News right now. We'll have new ones coming out in the next 48 hours.
48 hours, new Clinton Foundation documents coming out. Now, why is that interesting? This is setting the stage for what I would consider to be an October surprise. Now, John Solomon, the other day, August 14th, John Solomon, we listened to it. He was talking about not one grand jury, but multiple grand juries have been convened. He's hearing Florida, Pennsylvania, and New York, per John Solomon. Why does this matter? Clinton Foundation, today's Delta. Do not link to Clinton Foundation, August 14th, 2018, Clinton Foundation, docs kept in New York City and Utah. So is this prepping up for a grant or for a Hillary Clinton indictment in October, particularly October 28th, 2025. What a confirmation that would be for the Q boards, wouldn't it? Future truly does prove the past. John Podesta, Hillary Clinton under investigation again right now. We see grand juries forming in New York City. We have one in Florida. We have one in Virginia. We have FISA-gate under full investigative authority in Florida. We have Pennsylvania, which I believe is looking into election fraud. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then we have the preparations being made. National Guard deployments, the U.S. military deployment to the South Pacific. We have federal officers being sworn in and being potentially deployed across the country to sanctuary cities and states. President Trump and Pete Hegseth just sent out 3 United States Navy's destroyers joined by an attack submarine to crack down on Venezuelan cartels and drug trafficking. Listen, my first 6 years in the Navy, I did Southern Pacific deployments called narco-terrorist deployment, interdicting drug traffickers. You don't see submarines or LHAs and LPDs down there, the big marine carriers, but they have them down there now carrying thousands of Marines. What is going on here? You remember, Trump declared war on the cartels and these criminal organizations through executive action by labeling them terrorist organizations. Now we have LPDs and LHAs with Marines, hundreds if not thousands of Marines deployed to the South Pacific. We have 3 U.S. Navy destroyers, more than it's in the Gulf right now, and an attack submarine. Why would you need an attack submarine out there? Almost like these people might have their own Navy. But we're about to see that war ramp up as well. And this is going to be one fell swoop that Trump is going to do around this fall. And why do we say this fall? Right? We have to look in that context. Why this fall? If we go back into the context of the boards, it tells us this fall. When you go to look at the movies, Showtime, Barack Obama, Barack Obama, NOCS, NOBO, right? Who instructed the DOJ to release select text messages? You go down this talking about FISA-gate. Then it says the trilogy. Movie 1, full. The start. That's FISA-gate. How the intelligence apparatus, State Department, and Department of Justice of the United States in joint effort with our primary allies over covert assets with directed Hussein, White House coordinated Russia collusion. Then it says this. Movie 2, coming this fall. Enjoy the show, guys. It's happening right now, and it's happening within the next 30 days. We are going to see shit that is going to be like, no way. Mind-blowing stuff. Now, you got to remember, when we start to go back with the layout of how we built this foundational understanding of all of this, FISA is the foundation. Think layers. You have to build upon it. It is also the start. FISA works both ways, right? Remember the Q post? FISA works both ways. Double meanings exist. FISA works both ways. So FISA gate leads backwards to the crimes and the criminality of the Obama and Clinton machine that was organizing the one world order and trying to destroy the United States of America, and then works forward with the criminality that they did against Donald Trump to basically try to regain power. FISA works both ways, backwards and forward. So this is another interesting part. I don't have the video clip. I wish I did. Stephen Miller, this last week, came out and said that Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass are guilty of crimes against humanity for facilitating child trafficking and sex trafficking, according to Stephen Miller. Now, take this back in the context. Ukraine was a centralized hub for human trafficking. It's been completely severed from that hub. One of the other reasons why Russia was there. Donald Trump just came out today and announced that we're going to find the missing children. We're going to bring them home. Talking with the EU leaders. We have Stephen Miller this weekend talking about Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, the governor of California and the mayor of LA, are guilty of facilitating child sex trafficking crimes. We have U.S. Navy assets in the South Pacific and Marines ready to probably invade Venezuela, which is the new hub for human trafficking, by the way. We have the Clinton Foundation under investigation. Once again, grand juries forming in New York pertaining to that. We have the FISA-gate declassification that's underway. We've had substantial amounts of evidence pertaining to FISA-gate that shows immense corruption in the Obama administration, at the very least, treason at the highest levels. We have a grand jury forming on that. And then what's the other part that ties it all in together? 2020 election fraud, people. Right? You have a grand jury also forming in Pennsylvania. Why? Well, that was the heart and center of a lot of this election fraud. Donald Trump today, I am going to work through executive action to stop mail-in ballots. He's signifying, he's sending you a message. Remember a few weeks ago when I talked about the Smartmatic executive that is in federal custody in Florida right now? Where is he from? Venezuela. Who owns the majority share of Smartmatic? Venezuela. Who's the former chief executive officer of Smartmatic from 2014 to 2020? Lord Malik Brown. Also on the board of directors of the Open Society Foundation's George Soros' organization. Who was one of the main people that sent the email out confirming the Russian collusion campaign against Donald Trump in 2016 prior to it actually happening? Leonard Bernardo from the Open Society Foundations. You see Venezuela, George Soros, DNC, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all of this in the crosshairs? Do you see how it ties in? FISA-gate, Clinton Foundation, crimes against humanity, child sex trafficking, guardians of the pedophiles, Jeffrey Epstein's connections to all of that, all of those investigations going on right now. New documents about the Epstein going to be released on Friday. All of that intertwined, integrated together. The 2020 election directly associated with all of this. That is the next part of the investigation that Trump is hitting towards right now that's going to start to begin. That governors and mayors are complicit in crimes against humanity. The Biden administration, I guarantee, will be brought up on crimes against humanity with the open borders policy, specifically Kamala Harris. That's what you're going to hear next out of Stephen Miller's mouth, is that Kamala Harris should be indicted on human sex trafficking because of her open borders policies. Now, going back to the election part, this is where it gets interesting once again. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel have appointed Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey as an additional deputy director of the FBI, according to Fox News. Bailey will serve alongside Deputy Director Bon Dambagino as a co-deputy director. Why is this important? Do you know which state has been leading the effort to uncover election fraud and crimes from the 2020 election? Missouri. All these moves are calculated and coordinated, people. All three movies playing simultaneously, and the whole world is watching. You have things that are occurring on this global scale. You have things that are occurring on this national scale. And on the bottom of it is you have the buildup of a whole new system, a perspective system of this economic system that's going to rise up, of this technological renaissance that is going to happen immediately after all of this is said and done. I'm kind of scared because we're not going to have much to talk about once all these son of a bitches are arrested, right? We just talked about that. We don't need to talk about that. And getting in ready for the midterms, what do we find out? Act Blue is under criminal investigation. Grand juries are forming on that, looking into massive RICO violations, money laundering. But you know what else they're going to associate Act Blue with that nobody's really talking about is the sidetracking of funding of federal tax dollars through USAID to NGOs and global organizations funneled back in to fund Democrat campaigns. That's one thing. But then also sidelining that money outwardly to organizations like Antifa and BLM and inciting riots. But then, on the other hand, funding organizations directly associated with human trafficking and crimes against humanity. Do you know the Catholic Charities, as well as a charity known as Save the Children that operates in Guatemala, has been under investigation in Guatemala for crimes against humanity, including associations with human trafficking? Do you know who used to sit on the board of directors until that investigation was opened? Jill Biden. Do you know who received USAID? That organization. This goes much deeper than you can ever imagine. And it's all coming out, and it's all gonna get exposed. So I just said the DOJ will provide Epstein-related records to the House Oversight Committee starting Friday, according to Congressman James Comer. Bill Barr just told the House Oversight Committee that Trump is not implicated in any way in the Epstein's crimes. Now, Bill Barr is a deep stater, conservative deep stater, neocon deep stater. He doesn't fight for the side of the left. Maybe that's a perspective to bring about there. What the 2016 election was and why Trump had certain Republican support, you have to understand that the left had basically hijacked the entirety of the deep state for themselves. They had pushed the neocons out. They had pushed the Republican majority of the deep state, which the deep state is uniparty. They had pushed them out. So the Republicans and neocons looked at Trump as a mechanism to get back into power and control of the deep state. This was the Pompeo and the Bill Barr and the John Bolton figures that were trying to do this. This is why they worked to unveil a lot of what the left was doing, but then covered up certain actions when it started to imprint back upon them. Bill Barr, that is Bill Barr in a nutshell. So when Bill Barr comes out there and says that Trump is not implicated in any way in the Epstein files, believe him. He's telling the truth, because if he was, Bill Barr doesn't have a loyalty to Donald Trump or this country. He has a loyalty to the deep state, to the NGOs and the organizations and the government contractors that really ran the government for the longest time. If he knew there was compromising evidence, he would testify that there is compromising evidence and that they would try to take down Donald Trump right now, because Donald Trump is bad news for Bill Barr. But he said there's not. So we're seeing the Ukraine stuff come to a head here. In the next few days, I think we'll learn more about this specifically, of what was negotiated. We know Ukraine is in negotiations for kind of a block-style protection deal with the United States, where they'll be buying $100 billion worth of U.S. armaments. I believe that's a year, isn't it? Yeah, so Ukraine will promise to buy $100 billion of American weapons financed by Europe as part of the deal to obtain U.S. guarantees for its security after a peace settlement with Russia. I will say that again so you hear that. Ukraine will promise to buy $100 billion of American weapons financed by Europe as part of a deal to obtain U.S. guarantees for its security after the peace deal with Russia. President Trump interrupted his meeting with European leaders to call Vladimir Putin. As in, a deal had been reached, and that's kind of what that was all about. India will come into consideration here very shortly when we start talking about resource allocations, logistics controls, China, as well as what's happening between Russia and the United States. Right now, there's trade talks were set for August 25th with the United States and India. They have been delayed, I think, primarily because Russia and the U.S. are negotiating and hashing out various different types of mineral oil and trade deals with the ceasefire that's going to occur in Ukraine and divvying up the land in the Donetsk region, which is rich in minerals. And you got to remember, Trump was guaranteed percentages of the profits of that Donbass region in the mineral rights by Ukraine, and they kicked Russia out of that originally. Now it looks like Russia's going to get that. And I guarantee you what you're going to see is that deal is going to be honored by Russia. So Ukraine is going to give up that Donetsk region, Russia's going to go in there. Russia's going to have the mineral rights, and the United States is going to get a portion of those mineral rights and responsibilities. Now, what does that mean? It means that Russia has to stop selling oil, cheap oil, to India, and India will be forced to start buying oil directly again from the open markets. So the U.S. just ghosted India by pulling out of the high-stakes trade talks. The reason being because they wanted to negotiate with Russia first. Washington made the case that India keeps buying cheap Russian oil. Where do we keep on hearing this? China buying Iranian cheap oil and Russian cheap oil. You got to remember, oil is one of the number one exports of Russia, and the U.S. has actually shut Russia off from the European markets. And this goes about with the recent deals that Donald Trump has made. But I think over the talks this last weekend, he assured Russia that there is an energy market out there and that removing sanctions from Russia on the international community, which I think was another part of this negotiation, is going to open Russia into the common markets on oil and gas. And he said that don't worry about these everyday deals, that there is a need for more energy in the world than ever before, and Russia will definitely be prosperous and beneficial. Why is that? Because of AI. You have to understand that we need more energy than ever before. So this is the critical time to negotiate this. And if you have other countries, large countries, undercutting the price of oil, that affects everybody in the energy brokerage industry. So Trump, the various different negotiation tools that he used with Russia: number one, release of sanctions over Russia. Number two is a joint collaborative deal in the Arctic for mineral rights and mining, as well as icebreakers and oil and gas excavation and mining. And then number three is obviously a share within that deal of the Donetsk region of the natural the resources and minerals in the Donbass region. And why? Because if you notice the one word that you have not heard over the past few days, China. China is now saying it wants to find peaceful negotiations to deal with China and Taiwan's reunification. Xi Jinping had told Donald Trump that he will not invade Taiwan while Donald Trump is president because he knows the ramifications. That is huge. That is a bow of respect from Xi Jinping directly to Donald Trump, as in, I respect your authority. You have massive power. I'm not screwing with you. So the Trump team just announced it's ready to drop nearly $1 billion to boost American supply of critical minerals. Why? Because we import about 80% of that stuff that we need, like rare earths, and most of it comes from China. The plan includes funding new mining projects, loosening old rules, and getting the Pentagon involved in the mineral business. Well, you got to remember, $124 billion underneath your feet. The Pentagon sitting on various different corporations' board of directors. We have the Arctic Circle. We have various other mineral deals going on across the world. Trump renegotiated the world to get better mineral deals. Why? Because those who control the minerals control the future. Moving into the economic side of things, Trump could soon fire Chairman Powell. The Federal Reserve's longstanding independence just got a serious warning shot. New legislation quietly expands presidential authority to oust the the Fed chair for reasons beyond misconduct. Supporters say it's about accountability and economic growth, but critics call it political power grab in disguise. Now, if you're wondering, this is what I'm going to show you. So on my Substack, there's a few different posts on my Substack. Sean Morgan just posted one today. He's the host. Oh, we're live right there. That's cool. I didn't know the live came up there. Sean Morgan, he's the host of the Crypto Future podcast that is now on our channel. It's on our Substack, and then it's also played on Repill Project. It also has its own Rumble and YouTube channels. He posted today, Trump's secret plan to dismantle banking government power, the economic revolution unveiled. Highly recommend you watch that. You can go on over to our Substack, redpillproject.substack.com, and check all of this out. But I'm going to show you a post here that I posted earlier this last weekend, and I highly recommend everybody go check it out. Gold shall destroy the Fed. Okay? I'm trying to move this over, but it's not moving over. Okay. It's not letting me move it. Okay. Usually you know what I think it is? Probably this. Nope. Okay, yep, there it is. Gold shall destroy the Fed. Trump is set in the constitutional path to parallel monetary system. If you don't know what the reverse repo markets are, think about it like this. You ever heard of a money market account? This is basically the reverse repo market. It's where banks store their excess cash overnight to earn interest. Banks can't just throw it into a savings account because they own the savings account. There's nobody they pay interest to. Instead, what they do is they lend it off to the Federal Reserve for overnight, so the Federal Reserve can transact various different things happening globally, like big loans to large conglomerates and large financial institutions, and they can earn a percentage interest. It's called the reverse repo. Now, the reverse repo during 2019 had a massive inflow of capital, up to $3.1 trillion sitting in the reverse repo markets. You have two different techniques that the Fed utilizes to control the reverse repo markets. You have quantitative tightening and quantitative easing, QE and QT. When you have 3.1 billion, you have quantitative easing, where the Fed goes out there, takes some of that money, you go up there and start buying assets. They buy up business debt. And that's what they did during COVID. They went out there and they spent billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on various different businesses' debt. And then what happens is during quantitative tightening, they sell it all off to bring money back into the supply chain to basically fund global operations. The Federal Reserve's repo market facility has just collapsed to $28.8 billion, effectively empty after holding $2.5 trillion in the previous years. What does that mean? Imagine that you just got paid. You have $2,500 in your bank account, $2.5 trillion, and you have a whole bunch of bills that are coming out. You go back and you look at your bank account, and now there's only $280. And you got thousands of dollars of bills coming out. You got a problem. For a system built on liquidity buffers, this is a dangerous moment. When the reverse repo market drains, the next buffer is bank reserves, which are empty. Once the reserves fall too low, repo market sees short-term rate spike and the Fed is forced into emergency interventions, just like in 2019. This is known as quantitative tightening. By continuing to let treasuries and mortgage-backed securities roll off the Fed's balance sheet, Powell can try to keep reserves scarce, hold money markets conditions tight, and maintain control of interest rates. In theory, QT is meant to suppress inflation and protect discipline. But in reality, QT has become Powell's double-edged sword. The more he tightens, the more he drains liquidity, pushes bank reserves towards scarcity, and amplifies housing and real estate crises. So the low reverse repo market value is actually showing you how much is in the bank reserves, which is almost nothing. Now, this is massive because this brings up, so what you're looking at here is, remember how I told you that it was almost like Powell was the deep state's last effort for an economic crisis, that we had the commercial and the residential real estate market that are hyper bubbled, inflated, that the residential real estate market has way too much inventory and not enough buyers, but because rates are too high, that you're never going to find that medium, which means that you're going to have a 20 to 40% reduction of residential real estate prices, which is the major asset that most Americans hold their value of their net worth in. And so when that reduces 40%, basically we go bankrupt, okay? And so that brings about a massive financial crisis, which also can collapse the derivatives market at the same time. Now, with the reverse repo markets being at almost zero, and 28 billion is close to zero in the context of the bank reserves, this brings about another nail in the coffin towards that economic crisis that we were once talking about, because the Fed would actually have to sell off much of its mortgage-based securities in order to refill those reserves. That sell-off is going to also drain that price and push it down even further when you already have an overvalued market. In other words, the bubble will burst and produce a massive economic crisis. When you have that economic crisis, that is going to coincide directly with the arrest time frame. This is where you get like protests and riots and sleeper cells and all of this stuff that begins to come up because the economic crisis takes the country by storm and the global economy by storm and stops Trump's progress. But what if Scott Bessent and Donald Trump had a play already to intervene in this? Number one is you either force Powell's hand. You have congressional investigations into the $3.5 billion bust that was the renovation of the Federal Reserve building. Okay. That is going to be under investigation by Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent and Congress. You have Jerome Powell's personal gifts that he's taken that he's under investigation for. Now you have Donald Trump being given various different legal framework authority to fire Chairman Powell. But something else actually happened here. President Trump and Scott Bessent have a parallel system they've been building. They can't directly stop quantitative tightening, but they can work around it. Listen to this shit. They can do a treasury bond issuance. So instead of the Federal Reserve intervening, the Treasury takes over control because the Treasury ultimately has the power and authority to manage the country's debt. The Treasury has constitutional authority delegated by Congress to issue new debt. This includes 50-year gold and Bitcoin-backed bonds. Stablecoin issuers could use these as collateral, minting U.S.-sanctioned digital dollars into circulation. Legal and 100% constitutional. You have exchange stabilization funds. Created in 1934, the ESF gives Treasury broad powers to intervene in currency and credit markets. Bessent could tap ESF to inject liquidity directly into the repo markets, bypassing the Fed. Treasury stable coins. Framed as monetizing debt issuance, the Treasury could issue a blockchain-based stablecoin backed by T-bills, gold, or Bitcoin. This creates parallel liquidity rail while offshoring funding costs are set by the Treasury, not the Fed. Gold shall destroy the Fed, guys. What we are seeing here is the end of the Federal Reserve. The Fed has basically artificially kept rates high, producing a massive bubble to form economically within the system. And they are letting the coffers drain dry to actually promulgate an economic collapse. And Trump and Scott Bessent already got the laws they needed passed through Congress last month to save the country, because they can't go through the Fed to do these things, but they can go around the Fed. And that's what these new laws allow them to do. To go directly from the Treasury around the Federal Reserve. You don't even need executive orders to do this. They can issue new debt directly from stablecoin holders based upon real hard assets like gold, Bitcoin, silver, America's value of assets, and issue stablecoins and inject them directly as liquidity into the Treasury system that circumvents the Fed's power and authority. Now, this would be utilized as an emergency measure because, hey, an economic crisis is about to happen. Oh, we're injecting capital into it. We just went around the Fed and we found an easier, efficient, and more cheap methodology to produce money that's actually based upon gold, which then people are going to want that money. So now they're going to start trading in it because they want that money because it's asset backed. And so as the parallel system rises, the old system begins to fade away. And it doesn't need to be shut down or collapsed. It just fades away. The Treasury starts doing less and less business with the Fed because there's new tools for them to use. All right. And if you want that, redpillproject.substack.com, guys. Redpillproject.substack.com. Go ahead and share that. I got one coming out about FISA-gate, the deep state, all three movies, all of that. It's coming out here. It just takes me sometimes a very long time to write these things. I read them like one paragraph at a time. I have to go through, grammar check, all that shit. So that's coming out here this week. So we'll have that here the next few days. Last week, well, not last week, on the 17th, I posted this on X. Next week, UAP news. Are you ready? What are we hearing now? Congressional investigations suggest evidence exists of interdimensional beings, whatever the hell that means. Russ Coulter tells Sky News that FBI Director Kash Patel is currently investigating allegations that people have been murdered to protect the truth about UFOs. This is what I'm heading towards. That some of these projects that you're about to hear come about, people have died because of them, specifically anti-gravity research. You're going to hear a lot on that over the course of the next few weeks. Because what happens when the deep state is taken down and the globalists are completely dismembered? It is open season for the global renaissance. It is the golden age. technological innovation like you've never seen before. Opportunities are rising with massive cost valuation, people. We are headed towards that world, and we are almost there. Donald Trump says in 6 months, the economy is going to boom. Believe him. Invest in it. If you need help investing in it, if you need to get started in all of that, hit me up. I can definitely help with that. Best place to do that, schedule a one-on-one crypto consultation with myself or Sean Morgan. Sean's name will be added to that list. I got to add him as a team member. You can also schedule with Sean. thecryptofuture.com. Thecryptofuture.com will take you there. The website will be coming out for that relatively soon. So we'll have that out there, and expect some email blasts from me coming here in the soon. We got a lot of different things happening, a lot of things that we're building up. But tomorrow, DEFCON 0 with myself and Alpha. I'll be back with you the Daily Dose tomorrow night. Much love, respect, guys. God bless. Take care. Thanks for all the donations coming in. Tomorrow, the 1000th episode. So make sure you are tuned in and tuned in early. The 1000th episode tomorrow night. We are going to, I'm writing it down right now, the 1000th. I think what I'll do is I'll give away probably a few $100s worth of merch. How about that? So incentivize you guys. Tell your friends. Everybody get in tomorrow on time for the live show. We'll give away a few $100s worth of merch. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to